Okay, thank you. Our bus ride this morning was very good. It's informative. Did you know the Amish, there's no Social Security taken out of their earnings? They have no Medicare. What they do is they take care of each other. That sound biblical to you? Oh, boy. We were talking earlier on with some other brethren about the ingredients in our food. What's in there? And what don't they have to say is in the food? Well, with the Amish, I don't think you have to wonder if they're serving corn or vegetables or beef or chicken. That's what you get. You're getting chicken, nothing else. It's real chicken. It's not McDonald's McNuggets or something like that. After you eat it, it never digests. But at any rate, brethren, we've heard this feast. Honey, lower the first two slides down a little bit. Okay, thank you. We heard this feast. Who are the saints? Now, the saints, I've kidded around and I've had people say, you're a saint. Oh, I'm hardly a saint. But well, we are saints. But how important are they? How precious are they? How precious are they? The one that says they are precious in his sight is the one that gave his son. Look around you at each other, the ones who Elohim has planned destiny. How are we to treat one another? Yahshua told his disciples, a new commandment. But I give unto you that you love one another. But that's not new. It's in Exodus. You are to love your neighbor as yourself. Love your neighbor as yourself. As I also have loved you, that ye also love one another. Now, do we understand what the word love means? I mean, can we grab a hold of it? Agape in the New Testament, in the newer writings, more than likely that word love is translated from charity, which means agape. It means active love. It means not just lip service. That's easy to do. I said to my daughter one time, I have 4 beautiful daughters, and I'm not patting myself on the back. They were designed by our Creator. So I said to my one daughter, she had a beautiful smile. I said, honey, and I've seen so many of these kinds of smiles. I says, is that smile real? I mean, is that something that comes on demand, or is that a heartfelt smile? She says, no. He says, I can turn that on or off anytime I want. So I don't question her sincerity, but what I question is, do they understand what love means? And do we understand? And we have had one give his life for us over 2,000 years ago. And sometimes the expanse of time can separate what really happened and what went into it, and it can diminish. A new commandment I give you. Here, Yahshua already knew what that commandment was. I give unto you that you love one another. And what did Paul say about love and marriage, husbands and wives? What was his recommendation? In the book of Paul. Here we go again. In the book of Paul. It's in one of Paul's writings. I did not write it down, but I read it so many times. I'm sure when you hear it, you'll come right to it. He's talking about wives. And right off the bat, it's controversial. Wives, submit yourselves unto your husbands. And that's usually where that quote stops. It doesn't go any further, especially when the man is quoting it. Okay? But little does he know that what follows is a greater responsibility for the husband. Just like the Amish, the husband is responsible for the food, the money for the food, the shelter, the clothing, I guess. In other words, he's the breadwinner. He's the breadwinner. The wife takes care of the house, so on and so forth. The children, of course, she has the babies. I don't think he can do much about that. But the point is, husbands, love your wives as the Messiah loved the ecclesia, even to the giving of his life, laying down his life for her. That's a tall order. That's a tall order. So ladies, if you think you're getting shanghaied or cheated, you don't want to be wearing the other set of shoes. You really don't. But husbands, listen up. Greater love has no man than this, that he laid down his life for his friends. John 15, verse 13. So, what does that mean? What is the greatest commandment? We love Yah with all our heart, soul, and might. Love our neighbor as ourselves. So I suppose this greater love has no man than to lay down his life would fall under the second greatest. To love your neighbor as yourself. So if we love Yah, okay, active, involved love, not just lip service. You know, you can lift someone's spirits by telling them that they're loved, and that is acceptable, but it's much better if it's meant with all sincerity. Because how many times have you, say, been in the store and you check you out, oh, and have a great rest of the day, or you're on the phone with someone, you just bought something and they can't answer the questions, or they messed up your order, and they say, oh, I'm sorry, sir. And that's all you get, I'm sorry, sir. In other words, the point is the words are really have very little value to them. Very little value to them, unless they're backed up by sincerity. In our everyday life, most of us won't have the opportunity like Desmond Doss did. Angela was talking about him. And Tony Marandola gave a rather detailed talk about this man, Desmond Doss. And he had the video on it. This guy would not carry a rifle, he would not shoot anyone, and he would not go on the battlefield on the Sabbath. But he wanted to help. So he got congressional approval for his desires. I won't fight on the Sabbath. It's a day off. It's the day of rest. Thou shalt not kill. So how have you looked at him? He wouldn't shoot. He wouldn't even carry a firearm. And man, he took a beating. His first year was relegated to latrine duty. No one liked the man. Until it came to where the rubber meets the road. Until where love is in action. This guy, I don't know how many men he saved. And there were records of the Japanese soldiers firing at him, or at least trying to, and their rifles wouldn't work. He eventually got shot. So what he did is he took the butt of the rifle and propped it under his arm and carried another guy off the field. And it got to the point where the commander of the company said, "We're not going out there until the sun goes down. We're not, in other words, we're not going out there without DOS." Now there's a man that was really brave. There's a man that believed, even unto his own life at risk, and it was at risk. He laid it down. He laid it down. He survived. The principles of going above and beyond requirements was demonstrated by this man's actions, that Desmond Doss. And you can bring up that video. How about our Redeemer? Now, when I years ago, first read some of the accounts of our Redeemer and healing, and this woman had an issue of blood for years. The doctors took all her money, couldn't do anything for him. So one of the women just touched him, and he wanted to know who was it. Another one touched his tassel. I don't know which one was which. But anyway, on one of them he says, it's not right to cast the food to the dogs, the children to the dogs. So what do you make of that? What do you make of that? Was that what was in his heart? Or was that a test for the people around him? That Roman soldier said, "Look, I can't have you come into my house. I'm not worthy. I command 10, 20, and 100. All you have to do is say the word and it's done." So he turned around and looked at the rest of the people with him. He says, "I have not found in all of Israel faith such as this." Does faith require love? Good question. Do they go hand in hand? Do they go hand in hand? And that woman, by the way, was healed. And the one that touched him, he said, "Who touched me?" And his disciple says, "Man, you got to be kidding me. They're thronging around all over the place." So at any rate, caring for the weak. We have caring for the weak homes all over the place. Leviticus 25, verse 35. If your brother becomes poor and cannot maintain himself with you, you shall support him as though he were a stranger, and he shall live with you. This is part of where the rubber meets the road when it comes to love. Acts 9, verse 36. Now there was there was in Joppa a disciple named Tabitha. She was full of good works and acts of charity. Paul spoke about her. And she was a woman, no doubtably of great faith, but she understood what love was about. She understood very clearly. Charity means love in action. Comes from agape. Matthew 25, verses 44 through 45. Of course, you may all know this. And that's the one thing we don't know. We don't know when we're entertaining angels, do we? We simply don't know that. Matthew 25, verses 44 through 45. Master, when did we see you hungry? Okay. When I was without food, I was without clothing. Or, do you ever wonder if you're at a restaurant and wondering if the person sitting next to you is really a person? Are you adjacent to an angel? I mean, our Creator knows who we are. And what did he do at Sodom and Gomorrah? He came down. He heard all this Abominable stuff. So he came down. There's no reason why he wouldn't show up. He could send an angel down, report back to me, see what happens. He hears the voices, but he may want to see us in action. Galatians 6:2. It's talking to Galatians 6:2 is talking about each other's burdens and supporting each other's burdens. This is all part of what reason why we're here, and what a lot of these presentations that we're given are about. Romans 12:10. Outdo one another in showing honor, respecting one another. You know, the world works just the opposite. The Pope, man, he has the best seat everywhere. That guy, I remember seeing him behind the fence line. He was walking down slowly, and people were just wanting to touch and shake him. Some lady, he put his hand down. The lady grabbed the hold of his hand, and he didn't like that, so he started slapping her hand really hard. Wow. No, let go. Wait a minute, aren't you the Pope? At any rate, outdo one another, showing honor. Share and help Yah's people who are in need. Bear with the failings of the weak. Gee, were we ever in a state of weakness? Has that ever crossed our paths? And who came to our rescue in our state of grief and failure? Who took all the failure away? Who took the results of all the failure away? And 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 11. You are to encourage one another. Now, there is a lot of bad news running around. But you know what sells really well? The advertisers like bad news, because people like bad news. They're attracted to it. So, and it can be emotionally disruptive. And if you spend enough time in front of that tube, well, it's not a tube anymore, it's a flat screen, it's going to have a mental effect upon you. So, brethren, my talk is short. I wanted to recap some of the things we had learned this week, but the most important is that we love one another. If we have the temptation to criticize, nix it. If we have the temptation to get upset, I run into that problem a lot. Nix it. We can do that. We can do that. If we have a tendency to want to yell, put your foot on it and put your hand over your mouth. Who put his hand over his mouth? I will say no more. Job. I heard about you, but boy, now I see you. I feel like dirt. So, and yet our Creator loved him, and Job loved him. So, it's a bandied word. It's on bumper stickers. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. It's even in the world of promiscuity. Oh, let's make love. Well, what does that mean? It's more like, let's jump in bed and commit adultery or fornication, maybe even sodomy. Who knows? Nowadays, it wouldn't be surprising. Got nothing to do with love. And the greatest is love Yah with all your heart, soul, and might. So what does that misuse of that word do to your temple? Yeah. I think it's in Exodus. A man lying with another man, or a beast, or a woman lying with a beast. He was telling the Israelites, don't get involved with these things. They defile your body. Okay. You go forward. What is Paul saying? I think it's to the Ephesians, to the Philippians. I'm good with the what's written, but titling everything I'm not. But at any rate, don't you know that your body is a temple of the Spirit of our Creator? So if you love Him, I love you, Lord. I love you, Jesus. But you can't be doing these things. You just simply can't be doing them. Because we're going to be made out to be a liar. Oh, and He knows how to do that. He knows how to do that. So take the word love seriously. Be patient. What else was it James? James or John? Tender-hearted. What does tender-hearted mean? You know, tender-hearted people tend to get bruised up. They do. But they're the best people you want around when you're bruised up. They really, really are. Okay, Fred, thank you.